What if I revealed that the most formidable vampires in fiction aren't mere creatures lurking in darkness, but entities of extraordinary power, intellect, and depth who have reshaped the essence of eternal life? What if Dracula wasn't the ultimate predator of the night, but just the opening chapter in a far grander and more sinister saga of blood? Discard all you believe about vampires. Welcome to Myths Unveiled, where timeless tales, buried terrors, and otherworldly battles spring to life. If you're captivated by the hidden facets of mythology, please give this video a thumbs up, join our channel, and hit the bell icon to stay updated with every epic tale. Let's plunge into the abyss with a name that redefined vampire lore, Blade. Born from a mother bitten during labor, he's neither wholly human nor fully beast. A Dhampir, he straddles two realms. Unburdened by classic vampire vulnerabilities, no repulsion to garlic, no dread of sacred symbols or holy water, he's a nightmare for his own kind. Though the bloodlust lingers, Blade's endurance, sharpened senses, rapid healing, and combat mastery make him more than a predator. As shown in Blade 2, 2002, he can take on entire vampire covens, shrugging off impalement, gunfire, or flames. He withstands attacks that would obliterate lesser beings. When he feeds, he becomes unstoppable. In the comics, his powers are even greater, suggesting he can regrow lost limbs, though decapitation remains lethal. Tomb of Dracula, Marvel, 1973. Yet Blade's true strength lies in his cunning. He's not just a fighter, he's a tactician. He foresaw Dracula's return and exposed treachery within vampire ranks before others suspected. Outsmarting Blade is like trying to outfox Constantine, a fool's errand. His combat prowess, paired with strength to lift several tons and tireless stamina, turns every fight into a war of attrition his foes rarely win. Now, let's journey to Eastern Europe's ancient heart, where Vlad, the Dracula of Dracula Untold, 2014, is reimagined. Far from Stoker's refined noble, this Dracula is a tragic warrior, a prince who sacrifices his soul to save his kin, only to become a tormented terror. The ancient vampire who sired him reveals all. Vlad gains the might of 100 warriors and the swiftness of a meteor. Newly turned, he shatters stone like parchment and single-handedly routs armies. His powers transcend brute force. He commands the night and sky, morphing into a flock of bats that moves too fast to track, even crushing battalions with a colossal bat-formed fist conjured in midair. His vision pierces darkness sharper than daylight, his hearing catches a spider ensnaring prey from a distant tower, and he may even perceive beyond the visible spectrum. His gaze can bend minds, akin to the vampire compulsion in the Vampire Diaries, Dracula Untold, Universal Pictures, 2014. He's nearly invulnerable, save for sunlight, silver, or wooden stakes. Yet blood revives him. Burn him, shatter him, cast him into light, he rises again. Still, another outshines him, not in raw power but in strategic endurance, adaptability, and experience. Meet Selene from the Underworld saga, a warrior sculpted by centuries of bloodshed. Selene isn't merely a vampire, she's the product of a potent bloodline, sired by Victor, among the eldest of her kind. What truly sets her apart is her evolution throughout the series. By Underworld Awakening, she has consumed the blood of Alexander Corvinus, the immortal progenitor of all vampire and lichen lines. This makes her immune to sunlight, silver, and werewolf venom, rendering her effectively unkillable by traditional means. Selene moves with such speed that she appears to teleport, slaying 6 soldiers before their bodies hit the ground. She senses other supernatural creatures and drinks blood to access ancestral memories. She throws vans with her bare hands, fights off super lichens like Quint Lane, and survives gunshots to the skull without flinching. Underworld Awakening, Screen Gems, 2012. While not as magically potent as Dracula or as battle-tested as Blade, her power rests in adaptability. She is the product of 5 films worth of evolving threats. And unlike others, she has no magical crutch, only skill, strategy, and raw physicality. But even her dominance can't compare to the Queen, Akasha, the first, the mother of all vampires. In Queen of the Damned, 2002, adapted from Anne Rice's The Vampire Chronicles, Akasha is not just a vampire, she is the vampire. Possessed by the ancient spirit Amel, she is the wellspring from which all others draw power. Her death would signal the end of vampire kind. She walks in daylight, laughs at fire, and is capable of incinerating others with a simple wave of her hand. Telepathy, telekinesis, compulsion, these are mere extensions of her will. I am the heart of the vampire, she declares. All who follow me follow their end, Queen of the Damned, Anne Rice, 1988. Akasha's presence is felt like a pulse in the blood of every vampire. Her ability to summon them, manipulate them, or destroy them without effort makes her the greatest existential threat in this mythology. And yet, even she was defeated, but not without the sacrifice of several ancient vampires and a betrayal from one of her own. Her weakness was her overconfidence, her belief in her own divinity, which leads us to the unthinkable. What if there existed a vampire without weaknesses? Not vulnerable to silver, sunlight, or fire. Not stopped by stakes or holy water. Not even death. What if this being had made a pact with the devil himself? Stay with us, because in the shadows of Transylvania, in the cursed ruins of a castle outside of time, a darker power waits to be revealed. Over the centuries, my family has tried everything, stakes, fire, sunlight, even God. And still, he laughs. For nothing works. Nothing can kill Dracula. As the curtain of mortal comprehension is lifted further, we enter the realm of those who do not merely exist among humans. They rule, manipulate, and annihilate them as easily as one might swat an insect. The second half of our cinematic exploration descends deeper into the pit of vampiric supremacy, beginning with a creature whose beauty is only outmatched by her sheer cruelty, Akasha, the Queen of the Damned. As the origin point of her bloodline, her death signals the death of all vampires connected to her. Her powers defy nature. She walks in daylight, destroys with a wave of her hand, and commands the very essence of flame. Pyrokinesis is one of her many terrifying abilities. But more than this, she possesses the psychological force of a god. She compels, manipulates, and dominates with grace and finality. Those who defy her rarely live long enough to regret it. Her reign of terror is not merely physical, it is spiritual. Her connection to the spirit of Amel, as described in Queen of the Damned by Anne Rice, makes her more than just a vampire. She is the vessel of a vampiric soul that binds all others. Even her defeat came at the hands of treachery rather than strength. It took the union of the ancient vampire Mahoret and the last of her kin to drain Akasha's blood while she was distracted, entranced by Lestat's youthful defiance. But what does it mean that her death nearly ended an entire species? It means Akasha's blood was not just life, it was control. Unlike any other being on this list, her powers were not simply offensive, they were systemic. She could will entire vampire clans into obedience. She embodied monarchy in its cruelest form, a goddess drenched in desire and destruction. Her death marked the end of an era, but also raised the question, if she was not invincible, then who could possibly stand above her? The answer is a nightmare born not from myth, but from a deal with the devil. Count Vladislaus Dracula from Van Helsing, 2004, is unlike any other vampire in lore or film. He is not simply undead, he is unholy. When Gabriel Van Helsing struck him down as a mortal, Dracula returned not as a vengeful spirit, but as a demonic being, cursed to feed on blood and cursed to never die. His immortality came at the price of a soul. His true form is not that of a man, but of a monstrous bat-like creature with wings that blacken the sky and a mouthful of jagged fangs. Yet even this grotesque exterior pales in comparison to his regenerative power. Dracula cannot be burned, staked, drowned, or sliced. He survives all, reassembling himself from ash and bone in mere seconds. His resilience is absolute. He walks through fire as if it were air, resists stakes to the heart, and shrugs off silver without flinching. Only one thing can kill him, the bite of a werewolf. But even that comes with a twist. Dracula commands werewolves, they are his thralls, his soldiers. It takes a werewolf with divine heritage, Gabriel himself, the left hand of God, to break free and defeat him. Dracula does not fear death because he has bent the rules of life. In one of the most visually disturbing moments of the film, he is reduced to a charred skeleton and regenerates in seconds, laughing as he rises. This level of healing goes beyond biology, it borders on metaphysical reformation. Beyond his physical dominance, Dracula commands legions. Thousands of vampire offspring are spawned through his brides, each capable of wreaking havoc across nations. He can shatter stone with a flick of his clawed fingers, fly at supernatural speeds, and vanish into shadows. His power stems from both arcane knowledge and demonic pact. While Akasha commanded obedience through blood, Dracula reigns through terror and eternal resurrection. His castle exists in a dimensional rift, unreachable by mortals unless summoned. This fortress is not just a lair, it is a metaphysical manifestation of his curse, a realm of cold stone and cursed machinery used to animate vampire young, defying the laws of life and death. And yet, Dracula is not without limits. His emotions cloud his judgment. His obsession with legacy, his romantic illusions, and his desperation to restore his kind often leave him vulnerable to betrayal. But make no mistake, his downfall was not the result of weakness. It was prophecy, destiny, and sacrifice colliding in a singular moment. Till that final second, Dracula stood as the most powerful vampire ever put to screen, resilient, commanding, and utterly demonic. But stories do not end with monsters. Sometimes the aftermath is even darker. Sometimes the death of a king opens the gates to something worse, a vampire born not of blood but of ancient spirit, a being that cannot die because it does not live. He was struck down with holy fire, impaled by silver, burned under the midday sun, and he rose again and again. His blood, composed of parasitic worms, infects others on contact, turning them into strigoi, undead creatures bound to his will. These are not mindless servants, they are extensions of himself, each capable of being seen through, spoken through, and moved through as if he were everywhere at once. Unlike traditional vampires, this master can possess new bodies. His physical death means nothing if his red worm survives. He can transfer his essence into a new host, retaining all knowledge, strength, and memory. The only way to truly destroy him is through total obliteration, his body, his worms, his hive. His durability is frightening. Fire, stakes, silver, and even decapitation are temporary setbacks. He manipulates illusions, can lift enemies with telekinesis, and create terror with mere proximity, though vulnerable to direct sunlight. He can withstand it briefly, just long enough to kill. In both the series and novel, The Strain, Guillermo del Toro and Chuck Hogan, 2009, he is depicted not as a creature of the night, but a biological apocalypse walking in human form. The further we dive into this mythos, the clearer it becomes that these vampires are not simply undead. They are gods in decline, fragments of forgotten empires and seeds of terror waiting to bloom again. Their weaknesses are specific, rare, and often require a level of orchestration beyond the grasp of mortals. From serpentine telepaths to demon-blooded sorcerers, their reigns extend across time, not by accident, but by design. You believe the monsters hide in the shadows, but the truth is worse. They are the ones who taught you what to fear in the dark. Among all the mediums where vampires have been explored, literature, cinema, and television, animation and video games have given rise to the most powerful versions of these creatures. Unrestrained by realism and boundless in imagination, these portrayals take vampirism to metaphysical extremes. At the pinnacle of animated horror stands Alucard from Hellsing, a being so powerful that the word vampire scarcely contains him. Once known as Vlad the Impaler, he was defeated and captured by the Hellsing organization, not killed because death would not hold him. Alucard is not merely a soldier, he is a weapon. When released from his restraints, marked by the iconic incantation, "Here I stand, the bird of Hermes, eating my own wings to keep myself tame," he unleashes a torrent of chaos that is less battle and more extinction event. What makes Alucard terrifying is not only his regeneration, his ability to shapeshift, or his invulnerability to traditional vampire weaknesses. It is that he carries the souls of everyone he has ever killed, absorbed into his essence, forming a metaphysical shield of lives. To kill Alucard, one would have to kill each soul he harbors in sequence, a feat that borders on the impossible. His final evolution comes after absorbing Schrödinger, a being that embodies the quantum paradox of existing and not existing simultaneously. This renders Alucard omnipresent and immortal beyond comprehension. He cannot be killed because, so long as he believes he exists, he does. He transcends death and identity, becoming not just a vampire, but an abstract force of will. From the realm of novels and anime to the wastelands of post-apocalyptic Earth, Vampire Hunter D exists as another embodiment of limitless potential. D is a Dhampir, born of a union between a human woman and a noble, likely Dracula himself. He moves with grace, but carries within him powers that dwarf even the most fearsome of immortals. He has cut through mountains with his blade, survived nuclear explosions, and traveled distances measured in thousands of miles with a single leap. His left hand, inhabited by a parasitic entity, grants him additional abilities, absorbing souls, devouring magic, and reviving D from death itself. D's strength is matched only by his speed, dodging light-speed attacks and striking faster than perception allows. Even reality-warping attacks fail to unmake him. He is not ruled by bloodlust, but by a quiet melancholy that makes his immortality seem like a burden rather than a gift. In video games, few vampires have achieved the raw mythic dominance of Cain from the Legacy of Cain series. Once a murdered nobleman, Cain is resurrected as a vampire by the necromancer Mortanius and gradually transforms into something far more. Over the centuries, Cain evolves into a near-divine being, wielding the Soul Reaver, an ancient sword that feeds on souls and can bend time, disrupt fate, and annihilate magical constructs. His command of elemental spells, telekinesis, and blood magic is unmatched. He can tear open dimensional rifts, manipulate reality, and resist even divine prophecy. By becoming the scion of balance, Cain breaks free from the cycle of death and reincarnation that binds all life in Nosgoth. His only true weakness lies in his own weapon, the Soul Reaver itself. Yet he wields it willingly, knowing full well that only by his own hand can he ever fall. Equally formidable is the unseen elder from the Witcher universe. Unlike many vampires in fiction, the higher vampires of this world cannot be killed by conventional means. They are immune to fire, sunlight, holy relics, and even decapitation. The unseen elder exists as a myth, even among his own kind, an entity so ancient and powerful that other vampires fear to speak his name. His speed surpasses perception. His strength defies comprehension. With a single word, he can paralyze other vampires. His mere presence inspires dread in those who have never known fear. He guards the gateway between dimensions, and his anger is instant death. His power does not lie in flamboyant magic or grand battles. It lies in inevitability, in silence, in the terrible certainty that if he notices you, you are already dead. But there is one last figure, a hybrid born from the impossible union of vampire, werewolf, and witch, who surpasses them all. Hope Mikaelsson from Legacies is the culmination of centuries of supernatural evolution. Born of Klaus Mikaelsson, a vampire-werewolf hybrid, and Haley Marshall, a powerful werewolf from an ancient bloodline, Hope carries magic in her veins, immortality in her bones, and the rage of the full moon in her spirit. When her tribrid nature fully awakens, the very fabric of the world reacts. The sky turns red, storms rage, and the balance of nature shudders. She possesses photokinesis, telepathy, compulsion, necromancy, and can obliterate entire legions with spells that other witches spend lifetimes mastering. Hope has no traditional weaknesses. Sunlight, silver, fire, stakes, all useless. Even death by dismemberment is only temporary. Her only vulnerability is to a weapon created from wood infused with her own blood and magic, a tool nature itself manifested to correct her existence. But if one does not possess this weapon, if one cannot locate the sacred tree or understand the enchantment, then Hope is untouchable. She commands ancestral magic, channeling the power of entire bloodlines. She has walked through magical prisons, defied gods, and erased enemies from existence with a glance. She is not a queen. She is not a predator. She is a force of convergence where blood, fury, and time collapse into one. The tribrid is nature's mistake and nature's correction all at once. She is not meant to exist. Yet she is the reason nothing else can survive.